Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Armchair review. My name is Fez, and today we'll be reviewing Warbotron. Now for the silly voice. If the intro thing has worked, that will all make sense. If not, I've just done a stupid voice for no reason. Won't be the first time. So yes, this is my review of the Warbotron series. I'm going to do all of them together as the plan here. Now, this is the 5th time I've recorded this, so we will see if this will work or not. Hopefully this time I will actually get it uploaded and not suffer all the many problems that I've suffered this week and the last couple of weeks. Long time coming, this. Should have done it weeks ago. But I'm going to make this brief because I intend to make all my reviews quite brief. But I'm going to get to the point. This figure, as it is, standalone figure, brilliant. It's a great figure. It has issues, but most of its issues, in fact, almost all of them that I can think of, are combined mode related. So if you want just a decent onslaught to go into your collection, this is a very good onslaught. I'm trying to think of any problems that actually exist with him. I know some people have had problems with the wheels, whereby the feature that allows them to go from the back there and peg into the front here. This, I'll try and see if I can get in there. Yeah, a bit of manual adjustment. That arm in there, I've heard some people have problems. I've had problems with, and it's caused the pin to come out and this entire wheel section to come off because it is on a hinge. I've not had that problem. I've heard about it though, so worth noting. And I've unfocused myself. Nah. What else to say about this guy? Really, I can't think of anything else negative about him. Now, I'm going to do a very quick review of all of the Warbotron figures individually, and not as a combined mode, because I feel there's a lot of videos out there at the moment which show you the combined mode. I'm going to talk through the problems with that I've had with the combined mode, and give you an opinion, but I don't do transformations. Anybody who knows me and has been watching my video so far knows I don't intend to do transformations on camera because I take too long doing them and I'm not very good at them. I can transform a figure really easily, but not in front of a camera. Just, yeah, just what I am. Okay, so things to be said about this guy, apart from the fact that he does have, like I say, some people have had problems with his wheels, and that's an issue. But as far as I can tell, that seems to be just limited to 1 or 2 people. Things that are worth noting about this guy, again, I'm going to focus on him there. Manual camera, still not very good. Yeah, issues I've had with him, bit tricky to get this on for me, just because the pegs that he pegs onto his back here they move about. If this piece that covers the if I can get it, that covers the Bruticus head shifts about, it can be a bit of a pain to kind of get a finger in here to stabilize this and peg this on by these little slits here. Not the end of the world. A lot of people have mentioned this. Squeaky arms. I'm fairly certain this one is quite a nasty plastic on plastic rub somewhere, but I can't work out exactly which piece it is, and it's an annoyance, but I'm not seeing any signs of damage, and this one is still squeaky, but nowhere near as This one is very creaky. Now, if I have any problems with this, I will come back to you guys and let you know, because obviously, if that turns out to be a problem, it's something people need to know about. Excuse me. But yeah, he's got some neat little features, a few bits and pieces that I thought were really nice, and I've mentioned a couple of them in my previous video and in the podcast that I do with Chris and Nat. Obviously, I love the way his Bruticus head stores away in the backpack there. I think that's just a neat touch, and I love when you do put him into full-blown Bruticus mode, and you flip this head up. This backpack, instead of folding back to being a backpack, completely folds away into just a flat piece there rather than the actual backpack. I think that's just a neat trick. Warbotron are known at this point for their like neat little attention to detail things like the just to grab him, things like the inside panels here on Swindle, just to fold down, fill it out, and the same with the back panels on both Swindle and what do they call him? Heavy Noisy, the tank. There, he's got the same fold down back panels in the inside of the legs. Like I say, I'm just going to do a very quick rundown of each of the figures here, give you a general idea of my opinion on them. Now, I do like the set. That said, I won't be buying any of the other sets. I have a particular affinity towards Bruticus, and this did look like a beautiful set when it started. A combination of things are going to stop me from getting any more of the Warbotron or that much third-party stuff, mainly money. But my being broke does not prevent other figures from being brilliant. That said, the amount of issues that Warbotron have had, not only with this figure, but the release line in general, just the length of time it's taken to come out, the problems that other people have had with each figure, and then having experienced them with Onslaught here, it's put me off. I won't lie. I love this toys, and I love the other guys that go with him. But I have been put off by the problems that exist. And when you're paying the money that you're paying for these figures, which is, 60, 70 quid a pop for the limbs, he was the better part of 100, if not actually over 100, depending where you got him from. It puts you off when the finished product has flaws that are silly. Now, I'll get to that in a minute when I go over the flaws with the combined mode. I'll just do, like I said, I'll just do this quick kind of recap and love-hates on these figures. Like I say, this guy, great figure. Its instructions leave some things to be desired in what they're meant to tell you, like the fact that these wheels are meant to be out of the way and can be positioned. A friend of mine didn't even realize that could happen and was having real problems because he couldn't work out how the arm was meant to do that, because there's nothing to mention that this piece here, which starts off there as a mud flap, basically, folds back. And he picked it up. There's nothing in the instructions nothing clear as he could find it, and was getting stuck with that. He also didn't realize that the wheel moved out of the way, or that this front piece of the bumper there folded up out of the way in the first place to allow the wheel to go up to there. There goes my phone, typical. So yeah, but overall, he's a solid figure. Like I said, if you wanted just a standalone Onslaught on your shelf, definitely worth the money. If you can afford it, obviously. That said, moving on. First one that was released. I'm going to go in no particular order. Blast Off. Again, this is the first one I got and the first one that was released of the set. Now, had this guy come out second and they'd released heavy, noisy first, I wouldn't have touched this. And I'll tell you for why. I don't like the proportions on this guy. When you look at him, even with his arms slightly tilted out to give him a little bit more girth, and then standing next to Blastoff, I feel this guy looks skinny. And when you mess with him, he feels simplistic. Now, all the others have very nice touches to them that make them an interesting transformation and an interesting figure to fiddle with. Whereas this guy does have some of that, the way he folds together and his fists fold into his, well, what is essentially the underside of his feet here. There's nothing special about him. He looks nice, but not great. And like I say, I feel his arms just, if I fold his arms down and take that off, that's what he looks like when he stood up, bolt upright with his arms against his side. And it's not the worst look in the world, but again, if I get Blastoff here and do the same thing, even you take his shoulder pads out of the equation, which I can do here, he still looks girthier. I'm not quite sure what it is. That maybe it's the thin forearms, I'm not sure, but there's something about this look versus this look that just feels a little awkward. I haven't been able to put my finger on it, I'll be honest. That said, all I know is I'm not a fan of it. He just feels a little skinny, like I said. But that said, yes, I did get this one first. This one was the first out, and this was a figure I loved from the moment I laid my hands on it. His articulation is brilliant. His transformation is fun. A little, I don't want to say frustrating, a little, you feel like you have to be a little bit delicate with him when you've heard and seen the problems that other people have had with, like, the nose cone. I've seen pictures of this where this is just sheared off, and obviously this end bit of the nose cone has just come away because the clear plastic is given up. And I think the clear plastic seems to be a recurring problem with the Warbotron figures. Like I said, I've only had myself personally one problem with the clear plastic, which is, again, the combine mode thing. But yeah, other than that, I've seen a lot of people have problems with bits of the clear plastic, both the whirl. Some people I've seen have problems with that. Blastoff's had problems with his. There's just lots of niggles with the entire line, which again all culminates to why I won't be getting any more in the future, any more of the Warbotron series in the future. But yeah, Blastoff, brilliant figure. I never had any problems with his original torso. I had a version 1, which a lot of people I know said had floppy legs and stuff. Mine were quite stiff for what they were, but yeah, I've never had any problems with him. So I think, I'd recommend getting him. Again, if you just wanted a standalone Blastoff, well worth the money. Then, like I said, the least favorite of the crew for me is their Brawn. Like I said, there's nothing horribly wrong with him, but he has issues that with his look, and I just have an issue with it. I don't know why. The other issue I had with this guy was that they've given, I'm trying to make it so you can see it there, there's a slit on the inside of the palm, just there, just about make it out, and that was so that the gun could slide. The gun had, mine doesn't anymore, it did have 2 slits. You can just about make out the shadow of them on there. But yeah, It did have two slits on either side of the thing, and that was the idea was, I think, that you slid it in and it would slide in, and hold without twisting left and right. But the problem is he's got a thumb, and that thumb does not move out of the way. So when you were pushing this into that hand, you were bending the plastic on the thumb slightly in order to get the little slide side on the side of this handle to actually go into that slit. I did this, and I developed you can just about make it out on the inside of his thumb here if I turn it. Well, it's much more obvious on the camera, actually. That light white line there is a stress mark where the thumb has stressed from me trying to put this gun in the first time. After that, I took an X-Acto knife and slit off the two things on both sides on both the guns, because I just wasn't having that. And he holds them perfectly well without the thing. If I show you the top of you can see here, that's the two slots on either side of that hole is what the gun had the opposite number of, and I cut that off because after it stressed out the thumb there, I wasn't taking the risk. So he was the first one I had any issues with, and they weren't major. They were irritating, but yeah. If you were only after a brawl and not making up the set, I honestly wouldn't recommend it. Now, as part of the set, he works, even if he does look a bit, like I said, a little bit out of place, a little bit skinny by comparison to his brothers here. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to complain because he does his job, but no, I am going to complain because I am. But yeah, he's not my favorite. He's the least favorite of the group, and that's just the way it is, I suppose. So moving on to one of my favorites of the group, probably the favorite, Swindle. In fact, this is the guy who got me into getting them at all. I saw a picture of him, and I saw that face, and went, yeah, I want those. That is like the single cheekiest face I've ever seen on a Transformer. And yeah, I had to have him. As you can see, I have my gun stored on his back like that. I don't have the, what do they call it, X-ray set, for two reasons. One, when I first heard about it, it was supposed to be an apology for taking so long. I don't pay £25 for an apology. And two, I think, well, to put it bluntly, I don't think it's worth the money. I've seen nothing but problems from people who have it. I know there are people obviously out there who have it and have had no problems putting it together and stuff, but you know, those people aren't talking about it on the internet, whereas the people who've had problems obviously are. They're voicing their concern. They're saying, you know, I put this together and its legs snapped in half, basically, or the peg snapped off the leg, I think is the most common problem that I've seen. So yeah, I'm not gonna buy something that is that flaky just to be able to get, because they're really the only thing I want. I wouldn't have minded the extra weapons and nunchucks and that, but they don't need them. You know, most of them come with more guns than they can hold. Oh, and that's the other issue. Should have mentioned that. The first three all come with guns that have handles like that on them. And that's a fold-away handle designed. And the idea, from what I gather, is that they're meant to be able to take that. And if I can do it. No, doesn't want to go in for me. Typical. Which I think kind of demonstrate what I'm getting towards here when I'm saying this. Yeah. He does hold it with a little bit of effort and force. I say that, but I can't get the damn thing to go in his hand right now. Ah, there we go. So yeah. And he's the one who holds his the best of all of them. That's the stupid part. And I don't think that handle works very well for me. You know, he's basically got to hold it in that exact position, which is slightly off center line of his hand. So if I try to turn it, it just snaps into the opposite direction on it, which looks even dafter. I can get it to balance, but not flush against his arm. Then if I push it down, it immediately turns off to one side. And I'm trying to see what's causing that. I think it's actually the joint on his knuckles is knocking the pommel of the handle here, and when you push it down, it turns the gun off center. But anyway, yeah, the first three all come with weapons that have handles similar to that, or exactly the same to that, and none of them hold them very well. They hold the other guns that have regular pegs, like this one, perfectly well. No issue at all with that. Just slides in and he holds it. Yes, if you knock it, it'll turn, but you know, it isn't the worst thing in the world for that to happen. But yeah, that night. So as I don't have the shoulder piece, so you can store it on your shoulder, and again, I'm not spending, you know, the best part of 30 quid to get it, because I don't want the weapons, and I definitely don't want that Shockwave figure. Don't like it. Don't think it looks very good. So yeah, I just spotted that fit nicely in there. You know, the two circles on either side, or the circle on either side, should I say, almost fits perfectly with that joint. So yeah, that's where mine keeps his gun. This guy I love. His transformation is fun. He is posable. A few people's had issue with the backpack. I don't have issue with that. That's a roof and most of the top of the car folded down into that nice flat thing. You can configure it in a bunch of different ways if you choose to. It's got enough hinges and bends in that you can configure this some way. You're probably going to find a way of making you happy, whereby you can, I don't know, for instance, you can do it like that, bulks out the back of his back a little bit, gives him a bit of a bigger profile, or you can do what I do, which is fold it in as flat as you can, and it just, you know, just adds a little backpack to him. Yeah, this guy is great. Its color scheme, paintwork are all brilliant. I've not had any issues with any of that. Like I said, the transformation is fun. It's quite intuitive. There is a small issue with the roof, because it's made of a slightly flexible plastic. You feel a little bit tentative when you're originally unpegging it from the side of the car, especially the back window, which it pegs into there's actually a hole there, and the inside of that pegs into there's a little peg there. The pegs into it, and because you don't have very much leverage on it, you feel like you might be bending it or stressing it when you undo it. And just as a precaution, I always get some sort of small tool, a toothpick or small screwdriver or something, and just put it there and push it out rather than pull it out. That's just a precaution. But that would be my only complaint with this guy, you know, other than the fact obviously he didn't come with his shoulder peg, which, you know, again goes back to the reason why this is the only Warbotron figures I'm going to own. I've got this set and that's it. I'm done with them. But yeah, he's good fun. And finally on my list of figures is the one that I feel the most two ways about, and that's obviously Whirl here. Now, I think this figure is great fun. It's got a really, really interesting and intuitive transformation. Excuse me. He has some nice posability. He looks good. Most of them look good, like I said, but he looks good. Again, some people have had problems with this cockpit. both being clear. Some people had just an issue with the fact it was clear, and some people have had physical issues where this piece here has snapped off. But yeah, again, I haven't had any of those issues. I love the fact he's got these delightful spinning blades on his back, even when he's in robot mode, and the fact that these blades can become sword weapons for him in some way, shape, or form is just a delightful addition to the figure. Not necessary, didn't have to be done, but makes for a lovely addition. Obviously, I can figure his gun slightly differently to how you're meant to, because you do what the instructions say, which is to have the gun like that. When you attempt to attach it to him, you end up with an issue where you've got to have his arm at a slight angle because that won't go over that, or you've got to turn his entire forearm round, which he does do, but then you've got to have this piece on the inside of the arm, and the peg holes are also on the inside of his arm. So if you wanted to, for instance, display him with the two-ended sword attachment, it would have you couldn't do it like this, because obviously the peg hole's on the inside of his arm, so we'd have a twin blade on the inside of his arm. Like I said, I love his transformation. It's simplistic, yet it's very interesting to do. Slightly frustrating trying to peg the two pieces of the tail blade together, the tail fin together, just because they are thin plastic, and there are three pegs, 3 holes, and it's just, it's a little bit finicky. It's easily done, but it just feels a bit, like you're balancing. He's got a lot of nice little options. The other thing that I do love, I'll show you that now, is the fact that he comes with 2 little transparent plastic pieces, and this panel, you may or may not know this, but that panel comes off to allow you to store those plastic pieces for whenever you're not using them. So if you take one of these out, you can take the blades off his back, blade in each side of this hole, and it will fit 2 blades in there, and then you can peg it in to the side of his arm, and he can have a twin blade on his arm. Don't know why you'd want one, but you can have one. Why not? Just try and balance that back in there. It is a little bit awkward trying to get the angle right on that piece of plastic once it's in the hole. Once it goes in, I should show you that probably. So obviously you got the piece of plastic in there, and once you've got the right angle on it, you just put that on, and there's one in the other side as well. So just a neat little touch. Again, another one of those little features that Warbotron has managed to put together that just finishes off a bot, makes him just that little bit more complete. Now, that's a basic rundown of all 4 of all 5 of them. Now to the issue that I have with them. Let me grab his accessories from the Bruticus accessories, are basically where they all lie. First thing I'm going to say, let me just remove the arms off the side of here, is this gun that he comes with. I don't get it. It looks lovely. Especially when it's fully extended. Does look lovely. No arguing with that. I don't understand it. Or rather, its purpose, beyond obviously being a big feck-off gun. It's got that piece there that bends away. Fair enough. Whatever. It's got these 2 here. Both of them move. Now, I know there is a mode that you can set up somehow whereby this becomes like a launch pad for blast off in his rocket mode. Space shuttle mode, sorry. There's no instructions that I found anywhere at the time of recording this to show you how to put that together. I've attempted to work it out myself, and I've got some sort of amalgamation of it, but in doing so, it stressed another piece of plastic on the already slightly irritating feet that come with that come for Bruticus mode. It caused another small stress mark, and it didn't look like anything of anything. So if the entire purpose of this gun having a bend in it is to be able to be used as part of a rocket setup, then that was an over-engineered piece, because there's no need for it to be that. You just do it some other way. You leave it so it doesn't do that, and you set up some sort. You put out instructions how to do these things. You know, I've seen one picture, and it's got blast off in the way, so you can't make much head nor tails of sense of whether or not how to do the actual putting together of this supposed launch pad. That's a minor nitpick, I admit. And the fact that it becomes a smaller gun is quite cool, I suppose. But as a smaller gun, if I remove the handle there, it still can't be held by Onslaught because of all this gubbins in the back. Can't hold it. You know, the only other way to do it is to do it like that, fold everything up. There is a peg that slides out from under here, and then you've just got that hanging out down there, or folded up around his arm. I suppose you could do it that way, so that he was holding it like that. But again, I don't get it. I just, maybe I'm being stupid. Somebody in the comments tell me where I'm going wrong, that makes no sense to me. That's just me. Maybe I just don't get it, and it's somebody can point it out to me. Now then, let me just grab this. Nobody needs to see my belly, but there we are. Now then, obviously, the trailer from Onslaught's truck mode. Nothing wrong with that. It's an excess piece, but it becomes a trailer. You have the feet. You can attach one to the front, put the other on the back. It just becomes its own thing. That's, you know, rolling gun platform, whatever. Not an issue with that. At least they give you something to do with it. I managed to work out a way by I could use the hands. I'll show you. In fact, it's far easier to show than tell. Try doing it the right way around. Talk amongst yourselves. So yeah, just to enable it to be able to sit off onto one side and to give the hand something to do when this gun isn't being used. I just created this little, I don't know what you want to call it, but just so that it'll actually sit like that. The thumbs become like a bipod, and it just sits. I can just sit it on the side, or I can sit it on the back of the trailer. Actually, what I had done is, if I get this, what I generally have is it kind of all kind of just sits together like this. Yeah. And it, you know, it's whatever. It's stuff that's left over from the transformation, but you know, that's what you get with the combiners. Now, the major issue, the issue everybody seems to be having with this, and in case you don't know about it, though, I'm going to go over it again, is these feet, or more importantly, the ratchet in the feet. Now, I've had one of them go on me, and this is an original one. This one hasn't been switched out because it does come with replacement parts. This one hasn't been switched out for one reason and one reason only, and that is, if I can get the angle just right, you can probably see that that screw has no attachment. There has no joint. There's no way to put a screwdriver in there and turn that. That has been bored out completely. And it's the same with the one in here, although I can't get the light in there to show you. But both of these two screws, they don't have a Phillips head. They don't have a flat head anymore. They are just a circle, a dent. And there you can just about make it out there. But yeah, it's like somebody drilled it out. Which means that when this, and you're going to hear this now, eventually goes, which it already has in the other foot, this foot is, well, I don't know that it will be fucked, thankfully, because the pads that it comes with, that you put on the bottom, the felt pads, they do stop this from sliding around. So hopefully it'll hold its weight fine and I won't have an issue. Otherwise, I will be irritated. But I will let that happen when it happens. And I will complain about it at the time to anybody who will listen, actually. Now, this one has been replaced, and you'll hear now the difference between the two. I saw a small video online, and basically, to explain what the issue is inside here, you can see that yellowy plastic that's actually a transparent piece of plastic in there. And that piece just above my fingernail is actually what this grey piece ratchets against. So when I do that, it's actually clicking against that transparent piece of plastic. Now, as many of you will know, transparent plastic, not that strong. When you're using it against the ratchet joint, making it so that it is, well, like I said, here's the difference. This is the unfixed one. That's the click. Here's the fixed one. Now, I wouldn't actually, fixed is probably the wrong word, but this is the one I've replaced. And in the process of replacing it, I just took a small piece of sandpaper and I just sanded down the top of that clear piece of plastic that's in here. So that piece of plastic at the very top that's in there, you actually have to unscrew it on that side, pull it apart, pull that piece of plastic out, and then you can replace this one or take them out and do this to the ones that are originally in there. And I just took a piece of sandpaper and sanded it down ever so slightly, put it back in, tried it, took it back out, and just got it to a point where it's a bit less aggressive of a click. And what that basically does is hopefully it will mean that I know I'm running a risk when I do that every time, actually. Hopefully it'll mean that one won't break again, because it's just got slightly less pressure being put on it every time you change the angle of the foot. This one I can't do anything about. That's two things in one foot that is irritating. One, that's a dumb idea. Using clear plastic as a ratcheting point is a dumb idea. And whoever in Warbotron came up with that idea needs to get a slap. Seriously. Because that... I don't make toys. I play with them. But I don't make them. But I know that clear plastic is generally less strong than non-clear plastic. It's just something to do, I imagine it's something to do with how it's made transparent makes it weaker. The fact that light can go through it means that it just doesn't have the strength of regular plastic. I don't know whether that's how accurate that thought is, but experience tells me that I am not getting these zooming right. But yeah, experience playing with things that have clear plastic in them tells me that when clear plastic is used as a stressful point, as something that's going to bend or potentially get pressure put against it, it tends to break quicker than non-clear plastic. Could be just that it shows up earlier and people realize it's happening sooner. I don't know, but that's just how it appears. And yeah, the fact that it's been proven and the fact that it came with replacements means that they knew it was an issue. I don't know. It seems stupid to me. And it's another major reason why I won't be buying Warbotron again. So I've rambled on again for far longer than I intended to. But yes, my opinion on the Warbotron series is I do love them. I love all of these figures. Do they have issues? Yes. Are the issues I can get around? Yeah, really easily, to be honest. I have no real, how should I put it? I have no regret in buying any of these, even though I could have afforded to buy, what, 20, 30 Hasbro figures for the same price, if not more, depending on how and where I got them. But yeah, I don't have a regret in buying them. Would I recommend them to people? Yes, but I would definitely also recommend caution when buying them. Make sure whenever you get them from somewhere, try to make sure you have some comeback on it, a way of getting replacement parts sent out to you. If you're ordering from a big company, make sure they're one that will offer the ability to replace parts that do go. I know most do, but some don't. And make sure if you're buying these that you get them from somewhere that will, because there's a chance, small as it might be, there is a chance that you could end up with a dud. And if you do, you want to be able to find a way back at it. But yeah, if you're a collector who buys his figures, takes them out of the box, puts them on display, and never fiddles with them, you would probably love these figures. They are great for posing. They are fun transformations. Most of them are quite intuitive, even if the instructions aren't very clear on how you're meant to do certain things. They're intuitive enough that with a little bit of working it out, looking at it a bit more closely, you'll get that how it happens and how things could be moved and how to transform it at the end, obviously. Yeah, I would recommend them still, but I would also recommend caution when buying them. You can get a dud, and there are more than enough duds floating around there of this. But yeah, so that's my review of these guys. Like I say, not the world's most in-depth review, I admit, of all of them, but more of a me sitting in an armchair talking to you about it, rather beaten up armchair according to the corner behind me. Now, going forward, for those of you who have managed to survive through this video, going forward, I am going to be doing. Well, a friend of mine suggested that I go back through and review the figures I've got, rather than waiting for a new one to come out and reviewing that as and when it comes out. I go back through and just do 5-minute reviews on the figures I already own, figures I've had for a very long time in some cases, and give you an opinion on those figures, because a lot of them are ones that I haven't got anything majorly rare or anything like that, but I have them, and if you want to know my opinion of them, that's what I'm intending to do, is go back, give an opinion on all these figures. I've got plenty. So yeah, that's what's going to happen going forward. Obviously, if I get any new figures, I think the next one that I should be getting is probably going to be Combined Wars Ultra Magnus. When he arrives, I will do a review of him, and I will continue to do reviews of anything new I do get in. But as a kind of filler, because I don't get new figures every week, I am going to go back through and do a review of all of the figures I've already got. Most of them will probably be under 5 minutes. So no more rambling reviews from me. But thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you can, and I will put a link below to the podcast that I do with Six Shot Changer and All in a Blur. And see you all again next time. Bye bye.